This session is called Strategies to Close the Gap. And I am probably going to just manage expectations about what I'm going to say briefly. Being really, really frank with you, Arup's aspiration is to narrow the gap. And this might just be semantics. I don't think we understand fully what it would take to reach a zero gap position. So I think we're being really pragmatic about it and talking about narrowing the gap. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that Arup's been working on women for a long time. In preparation for this session, I tried to find things that we were doing specifically in response to the legislation in terms of gender pay reporting. And we aren't doing anything that's targeted at that. Our focus is women as part of our equality, diversity, and inclusion strategy. And then I think the third thing that I would just like to say on where we are in our journey, and it is a journey, and I love the phrase journey because it implies a destination eventually. But the third thing that I would say is that we are planning to do some things, but we haven't evaluated any of that yet. So what I'm going to share with you is our thinking and things that we're putting in place rather than things that we have delivered already. Okay? So just a little bit about Arup and what we do, and it builds on what Sarah was talking about just now. So we describe ourselves as an independent firm of designers, planners, engineers, consultants, and technical specialists who work across every aspect of the built environment. When we do benchmarking, what does that mean? That sounds really powerful, but what does that mean in practice? It means that when we do benchmarking, we tick as being in the engineering and construction sector, and we are primarily engaged at the design phase. So you won't know Arup, but you probably know our clients: Heathrow Terminal 5, Crossrail, High Speed 2. Globally, we do things like the restoration of La Sagrada Familia. We did the Beijing Olympic Stadium and that kind of thing. In terms of some numbers, so we have 15,000 employees around the world. Our mission is to shape a better world. I'll say a bit about culture. So Sarah touched upon culture, and I'll say a bit about our context. So things that you need to understand in Arup to understand our strategy on women. So the first thing is we're owned in trust. So Arup is owned in trust for the benefit of its staff. I'm a member. All our staff who work for us anywhere in the world are members of Arup. Our members share in our profit. So the bonus, we've reported on a bonus gap. It's a billable environment. So lawyers will recognize this, which is it's all about accounting for your time pretty much every minute of the day. And what that means is we have a lot of the work that we do on EDI to date, equality, diversity, inclusion, has been on the backs of people volunteering, working in their spare time. It also has implications, being billable also has implications for things like take-up of flexible working and women returning from career breaks, anyone returning from a career break, tricky in a billable environment. Decision-making is devolved. So I would say we have a really organic approach to EDI. So decisions about how do you get on in Arup or recruitment sit very much locally in the business. It's not driven centrally. There's a lot of local decision-making and ownership of things that will impact on women. The other thing to say about our culture is we're engineering-led. And by that, I don't mean that we employ only engineers. We employ a range of professional disciplines. But engineers live by projects. So Sarah touched on that. It's all about the project. Yeah, the project rules supreme. And even though projects are delivered by teams, the premium is on your technical expertise rather than your ability to manage people. Yeah, so that's one of the consequences. The other thing about being engineering-led is that the engineering discipline is about if you have an issue, if you have something that you're trying to find a solution to, you build it out. You don't strategize and theorize and develop a policy. You get on and you try something. We love prototypes. We love piloting things. And we're very much a doing culture, so we don't want to talk about things a lot. Policies and processes are there. I think one of the challenges for us is around that, the systematic application of policies and processes. We're not wedded to processes in any means. A significant proportion of people who work at Arup have been there for a long time. So it's not unusual to meet someone who introduces themselves saying, hi, I'm a newcomer at Arup, I've been here 20 years. I hear that all the time. And it's not also unusual to have people who define themselves by their proximity to a project. So, hi, I'm Andrea, I worked on X. That's how we describe ourselves. So, in terms of the numbers that relate to the gender pay gap, so at the time that we did the report, so the data we crunched to the report back in April last year, we had 5,000 employees in the UK. 41% of those were in the 41% of our early careers pool, so that would be graduates, apprentices, up to I would say about grade 3 were women. 37% of people in our mid-careers, the middle level of the organization, 37% of those were women. And 22% at leadership grades 7 to 9, so the directors, the board, were women. And we've had a target, and we have a target of women, 50-50 at entry level. And last year, there's this myth that women aren't studying engineering or aren't studying STEM subjects. But last year, for our graduate intake, 48% from engineering disciplines were women. So you could say we're taking more than our fair share. 40% at all levels of the organization, particularly at senior level, is a real challenge for us. And that's something we're focusing attention on. So, more numbers, a couple more numbers. The numbers we reported, and we'll talk about the mean, the average. So we reported a mean average pay gap of 17%. And all members of the people who received a bonus, a share of our profit, we reported a bonus gap for the 12 months prior to the 5th of April 2017 of 40%. We were one of the first engineering construction companies to report, and we said let's get it out there. And we believe, and I know this is very unfashionable, so Sarah referred to it in trends that we're seeing, but we believe in our analysis, because we love numbers. This is a numbers environment. So we believe that our gender pay gap numbers are a function of senior women. Senior women getting bonuses, so we don't believe it's an equal pay issue, and we've crawled all over the figures. It's really about having senior women getting bonuses, really. And that has charted in terms of what we do going forward. That's our strategy, which aligns with what we want to do on women, is all about creating a pipeline of women who can be considered for senior roles and more women directors. And we have to be really careful about that. So we talk on our website, in all our communication, we talk about we want to get 40% as soon as it's responsible to do so, because this is not about parachuting brilliant women into roles before they're ready to do that. Now we have to be really careful in our terms of our messaging around that. So brief summary, what are some things we're doing? Scrutiny of our promotions is intense. So, scrutiny of who gets put forward every year to be a grade 9, grade 7, grade 8, intense. And we challenge that. Our board challenges that and takes accountability for doing that. We are doing a survey this year around how inclusive we are as a culture, and also around how people get on. So what are your experiences? How do you think people get on at Arup? It's not going to be a surprise how you get on at Arup is you work on the WOW projects. You work on Euston Station. Shall I pause there, because I'm conscious it's 2:30?
We have 2 more minutes.
I have 2 more minutes, okay. So we're going to do this survey to kind of target interventions going forward. Flexible working, as Sarah has alluded to, both Sarahs have alluded to, attitudinal shift. So we find flexible working really challenging. It's definitely not systematic across Arup. There's some people who are doing it. We also find things like shared parental leave really, really tricky on a project, because we are driven by client requirements. And in terms of the thing that you were talking about, Sarah, about more support for parents and carers, absolutely, we're doing a lot on that. And we're also exploring what would help us to make this cultural shift. So around, getting more people feeling warm to and able to explore things like flexible working, but also things like inclusive leadership. I think I'll stop there.